this is Lucas, and today we're going to be doing what will hopefully be a fairly quick comparison of two Legend scale Shockwave figures. Where you've got here the Magic Square MS B32A Spock and Newage Toys H35EX Cyclops. So I've picked both these up relatively recently. These are the most recent reissues of both of these figures, which have been released in the past. The B32A Spock has been released in a slightly different deco recently to go with Magic Square's Masterpiece Scale Bruticus. So this is that newer version of it that's been very slightly retooled and slightly recoloured. The retooling, I believe, is to allow some tabbing in for the Masterpiece Scale Bruticus's hand to hold on to him when he's in his alt mode. One feature of the reissue is that I believe it was a bit cheaper than the previous issues of the Spock figure. I picked this up for £20 from Show's store. I think the initial releases were around £30. And a slight disclaimer on the Newage one, I have painted his eye. It comes with light piping and a clear plastic eye that can look a bit dead. So I've just put some yellow paint on him. And both of these have had decals applied. Cyclops, again, has just been reissued, so you can currently pick him up. And this is the EX version, the glossy purple version. With Newage, they do loads of repaints, so there's various versions of this available. A sort of lighter purple version, a black version. They've just issued a shattered glass yellow version, but this is the EX glossy purple. And this one cost £45, so more than twice as much as Spock. Even with the standard issue pricing of Spock at about £30, Newage does come in a bit more expensive. As you can see, they're both good looking representations of the figure. Let's have a look at them in a bit more detail. One thing you'll notice straight away when quickly comparing the two figures is the difference in height. Legend scale, as far as I can tell, seems to be a bit of a law unto itself. I personally am a Newage Legends collector primarily, and within a brand they tend to stick to their own scale, but there is discrepancy between the brands. Magic Square scale Legend figures tend to be a little bit bigger. Spock is about 11 centimetres tall to the tip of his ears, and Cyclops is about 10 centimetres. So really, scale's a matter of personal preference when it comes to Legends. Just looking at Spock Magic Square in a bit more detail. This version doesn't have a huge amount of paint on it. I think it's got some paint on some of the silver areas, but the plastic, the purple plastic, is largely just plain plastic. And I think that's quite common with a lot of the Magic Square releases. They do repaint, they do different versions, and they're different versions. Some of them come with a bit more paint on, but this particular release, purple plastic, is mostly unpainted. It looks good. I mean, it's a good colour throughout. When I picked this up, as I said, being primarily a Newage Legends collector, I hadn't picked up any Magic Square Legends before. I picked this up purely to go with the Masterpiece Bruticus, but I was pretty impressed, especially at £20. I don't think you can go far wrong with this figure. It's got some sort of gappage in the backs of the legs, but overall it's pretty clean. He's got good articulation, head's on a ball joint. The head is quite stiff. That's one noticeable issue I've had with this, that the head is a bit hard to manipulate, but overall it's got good articulation, good movement, a nice ab crunch. It's, like I say, I was pretty impressed with it. It comes with a lot of accessories. He's got his blaster on his left hand and an open hand on his right hand, and he comes with accessories that basically mean you can have all kinds of combinations going on. But he's got 2 clear plastic closed fists, so you can have a closed fist on either hand. He's got 2 opaque plastic closed fists, so whichever hand you want to have as a closed fist, you can do that. 2 opaque open hands, like the one I've got on him at the moment on his right hand. He's got 2 saluting hands, so he can do that thing, one in clear, one in opaque. That's the other open hand for his left hand, if you wanted to have the blaster the other way round. He's got an opaque blaster if you wanted to switch it up. He comes with these plugs, which are to plug the bits in his hands. Yeah, he's just got loads of spare plugs. You have to put the plug into the arm and then plug the hand or the accessory into the plug. So he's got 2 opaque ones, 2 clear ones. So there's lots of spares there. So like basically you could have any combination of closed hand, open hand, blaster on whichever arm you prefer, and he can salute in transparent plastic or clear plastic. He comes with a mini-me gun, so he can hold that, or other legend scale figures can be holding Shockwave. It would make more sense. Comes with his hoses. I'll put the hoses on both of them in a second. I think that's just one and a spare. One's slightly longer than the other. And he comes with this, which you can use as a stand for the gun, I believe. And I think there's some way you can clip it over to have a bigger, uglier backpack, but I'm not sure why you'd want to do that necessarily. And I've struggled to make it fit on. And finally, which is always appreciated, there's a nice credit card style character card with stats. So yeah, you get an awful lot for your 20 quid with this one. And just to show you, here he is with his hose attached. There is a point behind his shoulder. Let's just move that out of the way so we can get some light on it. A point behind his shoulder where it plugs in, and a point under his arm where it plugs in. He only has that connection point on one of the arms. It's sculpted in. So I guess although if you wanted to, you could have the blaster on either arm. You can only have the hose attachment thing plugged into one. And this is just a simple hollow rubber tube. Say you get a spare. I don't know if you need different lengths when it's in alt mode to robot mode. I'll transform them and show you the alt modes shortly. But I think it's just a spare hose. So there you go. Just an extra point here about Spock. I've managed to get his backpack on. It's the first time I've managed to do this. So it can go on in robot mode. I don't think it's particularly attractive. And you just have to really compact his backpack up to get it on. I think the small silver backpack looks better personally, but it's an option. The backpack, which I think doubles as a stand for the gun, we'll check that out in alt mode, can go on his back if that's what you want to do. So Newage Cyclops, again, I've put the hose on this one and it's the same deal. It's a a hollow rubber tube that just attaches on the arm and the backpack. And again, You can only do that on one side due to the sculpting. There's a peg there, a peg there. I personally, like I say, I'm a big New Age fan. This has a sort of more premium feel to it than Spock. It's fully painted. Obviously, yeah, it's smaller, but if you're collecting Legends, I guess you pick your scale and go with that. Again, he's got good articulation overall. No issues with the head movement here. And again, a nice upper crunch. Although, to be fair, I think there's a better sort of cover-up piece on the Magic Square upper crunch. Nice tidy backpack again. But, you know, fantastic paint, good articulation throughout. The only, like I say, failing, I think, of this figure is how they decided to do the eye with light piping. The whole back of his head is clear yellow plastic. I'm not a great fan of light piping, so I put yellow paint on his eye. It wasn't a big deal. Accessories, yeah, Magic Square's going to win this hands down. This guy comes with his mini-me for him or other people to wield, rather than the massive baggie of spare hands you got with Magic Square. He comes with a saluting hand, sort of alternate, which I know that's opaque plastic for his closed hand that's there out of the box, and for the saluting hand, and a clear plastic blaster. So you don't get all the options here as to whether you want clear or solid or open, closed, saluting. This is a stand adapter, which isn't much to look at. That's for the alt mode. And this is the stand he comes with. So you've got a base made of nice clear plastic, and you've got this articulated piece which plugs in and is articulated a couple of places, and this plugs in. We've got 3 points of articulation there, and there. Plugs into his backpack. So you can have him flying around in bot mode, or this piece you can plug into the base to display it with the stand in alt mode. So yeah, far fewer accessories with the New Age, less bang for your buck in that sense, but I still think it's a gorgeous figure, and the paint is amazing, as it always is with New Age toys. Right, I'm going to get them both into their alt mode now and come back and show you those. I'm not going to do the transformation on camera because I'm not big on that. There's loads of transformation guides for these figures. They've both been out for quite some time. They both had several repaints. So I'll try and maybe put some links to some great transformation guides for these figures in the description of the video. Okay, I've transformed both of these. Neither transformation was terrible. I used Streak Shooter's TF collection as a guide for transforming this one. I'll put a link in the description. He does some good comparisons with the previous versions of this figure as well, and mentions some issues which he thinks may have come about through mold degradation and reuse with this one, with the tolerances relating to the backpack, how tricky it is to get that in as well. Good review. I used TM Reviews for the New Age one. Of the two, I mean, I have to say I found the New Age one more straightforward, more fun as a transformation. There's lots of awkward little tabbing, dovetail tabs into one another on this one that are a bit tricky, but it's come together okay. It wasn't a terrible transformation by any means. And in terms of comparisons for these, oh, by the way, you can see this one is plugged into his stand, which works great. This one is balancing on his stand. There's a tab, a little tab there, and there's slots on the bottom of the foot. I think it's the lower, thinner of these two slots. You're supposed to be able to plug it in there. Streak Shooter manages to get it to balance. I can't, and I'm not too worried. As I say, this is going to be Bruticus's handgun for the combined mode. That's what this slot is here, by the way. It's this slot that is the mold change for this release. The previous releases didn't have this cutout here, which allows Bruticus to hold it. Will tab into his palm, I'm guessing. So looking at this one first, so broadly these two are pretty similar. They've both got their arms stretched out becoming the gun. They're both a bit kibbly in terms of the armatures going on underneath, but from the side, from the top, they're both pretty solid. Looking good. Ooh, got that twisted. I'm just going to remove the Newage from its stand. Just have to split the legs, the gun handle slightly to get this out as well. Put that back together. When it hasn't got the stand adapter in, it does have a hole there. If you left the stand adapter in, it would have this large armature. But again, a little bit kibbly underneath with regards to armatures, but nothing terrible. Looks great from the side and the top. Arguably, the handle is a bit more solid and together on the Magic Square. There's a bit of just sort of sat there with a few bits of kibbly stuff showing on the Newage, but both absolutely fine alt modes. Generally, I would not choose necessarily to display Shockwave in his alt mode. I tend to display all my robots in robot mode. Size difference is less noticeable in this mode. They're very similarly sized. I guess the Magic Square's a bit more bulky, a bit more chunky. And again, you know, the paint's shining through on the Newage. It's just got a slightly more glossy finish. But no, both great alt modes, both great space lasers. Good figures. More successful stand on the Newage. So there we go, alt mode. One final point about the Newage, which I don't think I've mentioned, is it does have a light up feature for the alt mode. I don't have the batteries in it now, but you can put a battery in the front. It's got a light up feature, which Magic Square does not have. So you could see that as another advantage of the Newage over the Magic Square if light up features are your thing. So, final thoughts on these two, both excellent legend scale Shockwaves. It just, I guess, depends what you think legend scale means and how big a legend scale figure would be, what sits best in your collection, because as we've seen, they are different sizes. So I think that's going to be the biggest factor for you to consider if you're thinking about picking one of these up. And of course, price is a factor too. Magic Square does offer better value. You could say it's less than half the price of New Age for this figure. So if that's a factor for you, go with your wallet also. But I'm very happy with both of them. I'll be using this with the Masterpiece Combiner, and I'll be keeping this guy for my Legend Scale collection. It's actually the second time I've picked up this figure. Round the time of his first release, I picked him up. I thought it was excellent. I ended up selling it because at the time I was telling myself that I wasn't going to collect Legend Scale, so I sold a few of the Legend Scale figures I've picked up. Since then, I just keep getting pulled back to New Age. They keep releasing excellent figures, and this was always, I think, an amazing representation of Shockwave, and I always kind of regretted getting rid of it, so I couldn't resist picking it up on the recent issue just to get him back in my collection. And something that I guess is telling is one of the contributing factors to that was picking up this guy and just thinking that it's not quite as good as the New Age one I used to have, and I kind of wish I had that one back. And then they reissued it, so here we are. I've got him back in my collection again, and despite me telling myself that I'm a Masterpiece Scale collector, I'll keep picking up Legends, and I'll probably keep picking up New Age Legends. But I'm really pleased to have had this introduction with the Magic Square figures. It's, you know, better than I was expecting. It's a absolutely fantastic figure. I'm tempted to maybe pick up their Soundwave one day, because that's meant to be one of their better Legend Scale figures, people say, and Soundwave's one of my favourite characters, so I might give them another go. So there you go. I hope you found this helpful. Check out my other videos. Check out Robo Lucas Decal Store, where you can get yourself some water slides for your figures or dry rub transfers. I'll put links to that in the description. Thanks for watching.